Hello viewers, welcome to my tutorial on frame relay. On the last 2 or 3 tutorials, I've been showing you how to configure frame relay using point-to-point or multi-point. On today's tutorial, I shall combine that point-to-point and multi-point on this topology that you are viewing right now, and then what I'm really interested in doing today is showing you how to interconnect two clouds. In the real world, you won't just be dependent on one office, but your office may have remote site that you need to link them. We all know that frame relay is a one technology that we implement frame relay in one technology. So on today's tutorial, I shall still demonstrate how to configure that point-to-point and multi-point frame relay, but now I shall mainly focus on how to link 2 or 3 clouds, or that's how to cross from one cloud to another cloud. So this is the topology on as you are viewing right now. I've just give them arbitrary addresses. All the red links you are seeing are the multi-point links, while the blue links are the point-to-point links. So let's start. Now we have to start with our PC1. Please guys, follow this carefully. The procedure is the same, no change. But you enable config t interface sc0/0. As I said, since you are using sub interfaces on this physical interface, you don't apply the IP address, but you enable the encapsulation frame relay. So you do an encapsulation frame relay. Now you do no short, you exit. Now we need to create our interface. On the router 1, you discover that router 1 has one multi-point interface, we have one multi-point sub interface and one point-to-point sub interface. So let's start with our multi-point sub interface. So with multi-point, we do go to your interface 0/0, then you create your sub interface. As I said, you can choose one of these DSCIs to create your sub interface. It doesn't matter which one you choose. So let's take the 109, and we specify that it's a multi-point. Now we assign an IP address 192.168.2. IP address for this man is a .1 255.255.255.248. Remember, it's a /29 address, so this is a subnet mask of a /29 248. Enter. Now you have to map your destination IP address with their host DSCI. So the very first destination is 192.168.2. Let's start with router 9. On router 9 is a .2, .2, and the source DSCI is 109. Now we'll move to our next next address, mapping address, which is .3 for router 8. Have .3, and the DSCI is 108. Now we move to the third, which is .4, and the DSCI is 102 because it's connecting to router 2. Have .4, the DSCI of 102. That's that for that multi-point interface. Now you exit and you create your point-to-point sub interface. Since this is the only point-to-point sub interface on this router, we are using this DSCI 105. Now it's a point-to-point. You assign an IP address to that sub interface. IP address 192.168.2. This one is .18. 255.255.255. You discover that since just a point-to-point is a /30, because we need just 2 usable addresses, so it's not 248 but 252. Sorry for that. .252. Now you have to map your destination DSCI. Remember, it is a point-to-point, so you map your destination DSCI. Now, in this case, destination DSCI is since it's connected to router 5 is 501. That's router 5 connecting to router 1. So destination DSCI in this case is 501. You end. That's all the configuration you need for that router. Now we move to our this next router on router 9. VM config t interface SE0/0. Now with router 9, since it is just a spoke router, you can if you like you configure the IP address on the physical interface. It has nothing, but if you like you use the sub interface. But for this tutorial I shall do it on the physical interface. So yeah, the first thing you do, encapsulate your frame relay. Now you configure your IP address on the physical interface, because it is just a hop router, not it's just a spoke router, not the hop router, sorry. IP address 192.168.2. and destination the DSC IP address is 2.2.255.255.255.248. Now you do your frame map. Now you are mapping the destination DSI, which is the DSI of the hop router. That's router 1, which is 192.168.2.1 to the source DSI, which is 901. Router 9 connecting to router 1. You are through for that routing configuration. Now you move to the next router on router 8. Same thing, interface SE0/0. No, you do your config T first. Have your configuration terminal, interface SE0/0. Now you encapsulate your frame relay. Assign your IP address on that interface. It's just a spoke router. IP address 192.168.2.3, 255.255.255.248. Now you map your destination IP address to source DSCI 192.168.2.1 and source DSCI is 801. Now you are through for that router and your configuration. Now you move to this router. Now let's start with this router 6. It has just one. Enable a configuration terminal, your interface SE0/0. Now on this one, now we need to configure our IP address on the sub interface. So here you encapsulate your frame relay. You do your no shot. Oh, on this router we forget to turn the on, so you can just come here, go to the configuration CL00 and you turn it on. That's using your graphical user interface. Go on CL00 and you turn it on instead of writing the long command. So here you do your no shot, you exit. Now you create your sub interface SE0/0 dot. Now the sub interface is .702 and it's a multiple, it's a point to point, sorry, point to point. You give it an IP address 192.168.2.22 255.255.255.255.252. Now you map your destination to SCI. Destination to SCI is 207. Do your end. That's all for that router. Now on this router we need to create 3 sub interfaces, because this first sub interface for the multi-point connecting to R1, the second sub interface for the multi-point connecting to R5, and the third sub interface for the point-to-point connecting to R2. So let's start with our point-to-point. First, do your normal thing, interface SE0/0 dot. Yeah, encapsulate your frame relay. Do your no shot and you exit. Now you interface se0/0.207 and it's a point-to-point. Configure an IP address 192.168.2.21 55.255.252 is a /30. Now you map your destination DSI, which is 702. Exit. Your interface se0/0. Now you use this DSI to configure the point-to-point connected to R1 DSI 201 and it's a multi-point. Give it an IP address 192.168.2.4 255.255.255.248. Do your frame map IP mapping destination IP address to the source DSI 192.168.2.1 source DSI 201, and that's that. You create your last sub interface, which interface se0/0 dot interface connecting to R5, which is 205.205, and it's a multi-point. You assign your IP address 192.168.2.13. Yes, am I right? 255.255.255.248. Now you map your frame map IP 192.168.2. You are mapping the DSI of router 5, the IP address of router 5, which is .9 to source DSI, which is 205. You end. Now you move to this router. Now you have to create a sub interface because it is connecting a multi-point and a point-to-point. Okay, and the configuration terminal interface se0/0 encapsulation frame relay ID and no shot. Exit interface se0/0. Let's start the multi-point 603 is point-to-point. Give it an IP address 192.168.2.26 255.255.255.252. that's a /30. Now you do your frame interface DSI destination DSI is 306. You exit. You create a multi-point sub interface 0/0.605. Sorry, they say can't create because you need to specify if it's a point-to-point or a multi-point. Assign your IP address 192.168.2.10 255.255.255.248. Do your frame map IP destination, which is 192.168.2.9 and 602. Yes, yeah. Okay, and yeah, let's start with this our router. On this router, see you create a sub interface and config T interface se0/0. Do your encapsulation frame relay. Do your no shot. Now you exit interface se0/0.306 or point-to-point. Give it an IP address 192.168.2.25 255.255.255.252 is a /30. Do your frame interface DSI destination DSI 603. You exit and create your sub interface to your multi-point interface se0/0.305 and it's a multi-point. Assign your IP address 192.168.2.12 255.255.255.248. Do your frame map IP 192.168.2.9 at destination IP address, and source DSCI is 305. Now you end. That's all for that. We move to this router. On this router, since it's just a spoke router and has nothing, you can configure your IP address on the physical interface. SE0/0. Do your encapsulation, frame relay. Do your give your IP address 192.168.2.11, 255.255.255.248. Do your frame map IP destination IP address, and source DSI is supposed to be 405, but it's router 4 connecting to router 5, so it's 405. And that's all. Let me just put it, this one is 405, so I won't get confused along the line. Now you move here. On this router, you need to configure your sub interface because it's connecting a point to point and a multi-point. Config C interface SE0/0. The encapsulation, frame relay, no shots. And on this router, I'll forget our no shot. So let's just turn the router on. Use the GUI CR00, turn it on. Let's continue here. Exit. Now you create your first sub interface. You are more point to point interface SE0/0 dot point to point is 5 connected to router 1, and it's a point to point. IP address 192.168.2.17 255.255.255.255.252. Via frame map interface DSCI destination DSI is 105. That's DSI of router 1. You exit and you create your last sub interface SE0/0 dot. You can choose any DSI on this router. So for example, I can use the DSI 504 and it's a multi-point. Assign your IP address 192.168.2.9, 255.255.255.254. Now you do your frame map. Since it's a hub router, you map all the IP address of the spoke routers. So 192.168.2.11. The 11 is connected to router 4 and the DSI is 504. Next we have .10 is connecting to router C and DSI is 506. Have our next, which is .11. 11.11 is connecting to router. No. Okay, have .11. Have .12. .12 is connecting to router 3. So I have 503 as our DSI 03. And our last we have .13, which is connected to router 2. So we have 502 to end. So for our configuration, that's all. Now the big deal is at the level of this cloud. Guys, people should watch this carefully, because if you make the slightest error, you are gone. So let me just come here, show port level, so it will be easy for us to identify which port we are assigning. So we go to our cloud. Watch this carefully. Now we go to our serial 0. This is serial 0. On serial 0, we have this DSCI 109. It's router 1 connecting to router 9, R9. You add, and it's a multi-point. Next 108, router 1 connecting to router 8. You add, you have 102, router 1 connecting to router 2. Add. Now on this your point to point interface, we on the last tutorial I was showing you how to map, but I didn't make a mistake because we're mapping both the destination and the source on that same serial interface. But on the logic, we need to map the destination DSI, that's the DSI of this router 5, not the DSI of this source router. So on here we're going to use 501, which is connecting router 1 to router 5. We add. That's all for that interface. Now we move to our next interface SE01. We have DSI 901, which is router 9 connecting to router 1. You add. Move to your next interface 02. Have 801, which is router 8 connecting to router 1. You add. Now here is where the big D comes in. On this interface, we need to map the DSI that is leaving this interface to the next cloud. So for this man on this port 3, we need to map this DSI 102 to router 4. So map 102 DSI router 1 to router 2, router 2. We add, and then we still need to map the destination DSI of this router 5, because this for this one to ping this router, the packet need to move from this router to this cloud, and from this cloud to this other clouds using this interface 0, 1, 3, 2, 4, 3 and 2. So you need to be very careful with this, because if you miss something along the line, then you are done. So have 501 is connecting router 1 to router 5. I think that's all for this mapping, and you add. Now move to our cloud. On serial 0, have router 1 to router 2. Let's start with router 9, and router 9 is on serial 1. So we add. Go to router 8. Router 8 is on serial 2. We add. Now we go to R1 to R2, and you go to serial 3. R1 to R2, you add. R1 to R5, and you have your R1 to R5. So this cloud understand that when you receive a packet that is going to this destination DSI, you need to receive the packet from this interface 0 and send to this other interface 1. So with this device this way, it is done. Now you move to your next cloud. Now on this our next cloud, we have our cloud 1, cloud 2, cloud 3. So let's go to cloud 0 first. Where is our cloud 0? So one is cloud 0. Okay, so we go to cloud 1. Cloud 1, we have 207. Have our 207, which is router 2 connecting to router, what am I doing on cloud 1? Have 207, which is router 2 connecting to router 7. Oh, I'm making that same mistake again. We are mapping a destination DSI, which is 702, not 207. Now we have our 205, which is a multi-point. So we have 205, which is router 2 connected to router 5, and we add. Now on our serial interface 2, have 207, router 7 connecting router 2. You add. On our interface 3, you have 306, 306 interface R3 connecting to R6 connecting to R3, and we add. Now let's move to our serial interface 0. Now on this serial interface we have this destination, the ASCI, which is going to R2, which is 201 connecting R2 to R1. We add. Now R2 to R1 is supposed to be on serial interface 1. Have 201 connecting R2 to R1. Yeah, we add this one on serial interface 0. Remove this one. Now we need to use the DSCI to know that when you arrive at this point, you take the next DSCI to this other net or other remote cloud here. So we use the DSCI 102, which is connecting router R1 to R2. So I think that's done for that one. Now we'll move to serial 4. On serial 4, this network from R6 to R3 passes through serial 4, and network from R2 to R5 passes through serial 4. So on serial 4, we are mapping the destination to SI 306, which is R3 to R6, and still we are mapping 205, which is R2 to R5. We add. I think that we do. So move to our frame relay. First we map our point-to-point network from R1 to R7, and on R2 have R2 to R7. On that same R1 we have R2 to R5, and on R4 have R2 to R5. Same on the R1 we have R2 to R1, and on serial 0 have R1 to R2. We add. So how many links are there? Now what was I missing? On serial 0, we need to specify this destination DSCI to R5, which is 502 connecting R1 to R5. Add that. And on serial 4, now we need to specify by the destination DSCI of this router 1, which is 105. So router 4, connecting router 5 to router 1. Add. Now we go to our clouds on router 0 to router, what did I do? Router 0 have 10502. So router 0 to router 4. Yeah, cloud router 0, router 1 to router 5, and router 4, router 5 to router 1. Great. Wow, that's done for this cloud. So have 1, 2, 3, 4 links. Now we move to this our final cloud. Serial 0, 1, and 2. On serial 0, first our multi-point is 305 connecting router 3 to router 5. We add, and we have 603 connecting router 3 to router 6. We add on serial 1 just 405 connecting router 4 to router 5. We add, and on serial 2 we have first we have 503 which is connecting router 5 to router 3. And we have 504 connecting router 5 to router 4. We have 506 connecting router 5 to router 6. And we have 502 connecting router 5 to router 2. You add, and you have 105 which is connecting router 5 to router 1, and we add. Now we move to our serial 3. On serial 3, the outgoing interface, we have on this serial we need to specify the address of this guy, which is 306 connecting router 6 to router 3, R6 to R3. We add. Now we have 105 connecting router 5 to router 1. We add, and we have the last for the multipoint is 205 which is connecting router 2 to R5, and we add. Now we move to our cloud. On serial 0 connecting router 3 to router 5, and serial 2 connecting router 5 to router 3. You add that link. Serial 0 is connecting router 3 to router 6, and serial 3 connecting router 6 to router 3. Serial 1 connecting router 4 to router 5, and serial 2 is connecting router 5 to router 4. Add the link. Serial 3 is connecting router 2 to router 3, and serial 2 connecting router 5 to router 2. Add that link. The same serial again is connecting router 5 to router 1, and serial 2 is connecting router 5 to router 1. We add that link. I think that's all. Have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now with all this in place, now with all this our configuration, I think everything should be able to work properly. So let's try and see. Let's start from router 1 and router 2. Okay, it's successful. Let's ping this man. It is successful, of course. Now let's try pinging across the cloud. So you can see that one is successful. Let's try the long. Wow, it is successful. And let's see this last guy. Okay, now let's see what we did wrong. Wow. Let's see. When you encounter a problem, let's go to our cloud and verify if we did clouds 1 to 2, 1 to 4, 1 to. Wow, I see where our problem is coming from. We didn't include that from router 6 to router 3, and for router 6 to router 3 to router 6. Am I right? Let me see. On 4 have 306, on 2 on 3 have 306. Great. So on 4 go to router 4, 36, and router 3, and we add this and try again. Wow, that's that, guys. So in a principle, The configuration is just normal, but know that if you are connecting from one cloud to another, for instance like this one, now you have to use this DSI to connect on this interface, and on this cloud, this DSI or not, when he arrive here, he needs to use now but the DSI of this destination router. Same for the point to point, just that with the point to point, for instance this man, you use this destination DSI on this interface, on this interface, and on this interface. Now on this cloud, this is a middleman, so they need to do some changing of the DSI. So on this interface, why this DSI of R1 will be used on this interface, and this interface. So at this level now, why this man will be transmitting with the DSI of this router 1, this one will be transmitted with the DSI of router 5. So thank you guys for your time. Now don't forget to comment on something you didn't understand or something I didn't explain very well, and I'll be very glad to help. I hope this helped you for something like an assignment or something, but I do hope it helped you somehow. Thank you, and subscribe for my next video. And now I think that this will probably be the last thing I'll be talking on frame relay, but I shall show you how to set up devices or do some type of routing like static route or EIGRP, in order that you can ping a server from, for instance, just doing something like this. Let me just demonstrate. I have something like this, like a server. Wow. So on my next tutorial, I shall show you how you can use this device to ask for a DHCP request from this server across this cloud. On the very first on this type of topology, I shall be showing you how to do that with a static route, and subsequently I shall show you how you can configure a routing protocol on the router that will able to pave the path from this PC0 to request a DHCP service from this server. So don't forget to subscribe for the upcoming tutorial. Stay on frame relay, and after frame relay I shall start talking deeply about routing protocol, because that's very essential for network engineer in everyday life. You use routing protocol in everyday life. Thank you again for your time, and see you.